Hello and welcome to Knit, Design, Edit, Sleep, Repeat with Lisa Conway, Denise Finley, and Tiffany Wooten. Let's listen in and see what's happening, who's happening, and what's new in their world.
Welcome. Today, Denise and Tiffany dig deep and explore all the other tools, besides yarn, needles, and hooks, that we yarnies love and use to create our projects.
Well, good morning, Miss Denise. How you doing?
I am just fine, sweetie. It's not morning here anymore.
Well, I mean, it's not morning here either, but I'm just that weird person that says morning all the time. So,
Okay.
It's funny when you can actually tell who actually pays attention to the words that you're coming out of your mouth when you say morning at 5:30 in the afternoon and they turn around and look at you and they're like, huh? And I'm like, oh, you do pay attention.
Did I miss something?
Yeah, it's funny. It's really funny to me. So,
Oh, funny. Well, we're doing great here. The weather cooled off for one whole day.
oh,
And now it's going to go
yay.
back into the 90s and the hundreds. And we're not used to it out here.
No,
all.
I can't imagine. You guys are probably just like rotisserie chicken.
Yep, pretty much. Yeah. I stay here with the AC, my portable AC unit on, and a fan blowing in my face.
Yeah.
So
I mean, we have 100-degree weather out here, but at least we all have,
central air.
most of us have central air to be able to cope.
I would central air is a dream of mine. No, it never used to be.
Oh, it's so amazing. I'll be honest, you guys are amazing creatures to be able to deal without it because
Ugh,
I'm so
we're hot
spoiled by
creatures.
it.
Right? I remember living in Houston. I mean, you couldn't live without it.
No,
You'd die.
you can't. Not in this heat.
No, not at all.
Not in this heat.
So let me tell you what I got up my little sleepy girl.
Let's have it, Miss Coordinator.
Just some general information, and I decided to call it Tool Talk 2.0.
I like it.
Because, even though we talk about our yarn all the time, and we talk about the needles and the hooks that we love to use or we don't like at all, or that we're going to try.
Let's be real. We're obsessed with the yarn and the hooks and the needles.
We
so
squish things, squish, pet the pretty yarn.
all the squishy and the happy.
Yes. So I got to thinking, well, you know what? My mother always taught me that more than 50% of any project is the preparation.
Truth.
And she was a designer for clothing.
Okay.
She designed for Vogue.
I think you've mentioned that.
Yeah. So here's the thing. There are so many other things that go into making anything. I don't care if it's even just like a little bookmark or a simple pot holder or a dishcloth. You're going to need a few other tools rather than just the
other
yarn.
things. You're right.
Yeah.
You really are.
So I thought it would be fun if you and I just kicked around some ideas. I took a straw poll this week of a couple of people.
Okay.
Talked to them and asked them what was their must-have other thing other than yarn and needles in their project bag. They told me. It was pretty interesting.
I bet it was, because you're going to get a different answer from everybody.
And very good reasons for each one of them.
Yeah.
I was kind of surprised.
Yeah.
But I'll let you know as we go what they were.
Okay, let's go.
Okay, so first of all, I did go online and I looked at this, and I cannot remember the link, but anybody can Google it and find it. It was just basic knitting supplies.
Okay.
And it showed a cute picture. So I just pulled this list off the picture.
Okay.
And one of the first things it had on the picture was one of those tiny little spiral notebooks and an ink pen.
I mean,
well, duh.
Yeah, I use
right?
a ring binder and a pen for my patterns.
Exactly.
So that I can fold them in half and stick them in there and mark it all up as I go. So yeah, I'll agree with that.
Yeah, because I use sticky pads like religiously. Ask anybody in my house; they're everywhere. Yep. That and stitch markers are everywhere.
Yes.
But,
they show up in the most odd places.
Oh, trust me.
I found one in my makeup drawer the other day. I was like, what? Where did this come from? I'm so confused.
Funniest place I've ever found one. I was taking a shower and I don't wear my glasses in the shower, obviously, right?
Obviously.
And I've had a lot of vision problems, but I was like, what is that round thing on that shelf? I've been seeing it for months, right? I thought it was one of the kids thought they was theirs. I thought it was a ring or something. It was a stitch marker. Don't know how it got there.
In the shower.
In the shower.
Okay.
Yep. On a shelf in the shower. I was not knitting in the shower, by the way.
I would really hope not. I don't want you to ruin the yarn.
Right. So anyway, a notebook with a pen. Sticky notes are super important. I used to use them religiously, line for line, like row 1.
Line marking.
Then I'd write one, and
Yep.
then 2, and I'd write 2,
Yep.
underneath that. However, I have a friend who uses this technique, and I thought I'd throw this out there for everybody.
Okay.
I don't know if you've heard of it. She uses those individual plastic sleeves that go in a 3-ring binder.
Okay.
And she says you can either use the dry erase markers, and you can write on those plastic sleeves.
Right.
I didn't know you could do that. Also, another friend of mine years ago there's a ribbon or like a
pattern boards.
Well, one of the things that go on these plastic sleeves, another friend used these ribbons that are clear and they're different colors. I really am not a stationer, so I don't know what kind of product this is.
My mom has used something like that. We used to use them when we cross stitched years ago, and I think she's got something similar for knitting now. I think they're in like their pattern boards or something. I don't know, but it's like magnetic on the sides.
Okay, I have a pattern board. I can show it to you right now, but it's on the floor. A pattern board, but this is just like a sticky tape. It's maybe 1/4 of an inch wide.
Really?
Maybe, yeah. And it's clear, and you could even place it like my knit companion. You could stick it over that row and actually see
it.
Like for a graph.
Yeah.
Yeah, when I helped run a knit night back in Indiana, I honestly thought that was the slickest thing I'd ever seen.
I was going to say, that sounds like an amazing thing, quite honestly.
So, Gus, I'm going to let my husband do the search for me tomorrow.
Yes. Mr. Randy, we're going to need a link for that, please, or something. Because we can't make you any promises for show notes, y'all. I'm going to tell you that right now. I can't make you any promises for show notes. But if we find it beforehand, we'll let you know.
Exactly. Anyway. So, do you have any special little gadget that you write on? Do you have a technology or anything?
So, the two things that I have my what did I just call it? My ring binder. I always lose the word. Arc is the brand out of Staples. Office Max has something similar. I don't remember what their brand is, but it's an art book where you can just pull pages in and out really easily, and that's what all of my books are anymore. So, if I physically print it, which I physically print most of my stuff, and if I just need to disconnect from the technology, I use that. Yeah. But I have a what's it called? Row Companion or Row Counter or something. It's an app on the phone, and it cloud syncs across everything. And I can import the pattern in there, and it'll row count for me. And then it's also got a cool little second set where you can do repeats.
Yes.
So, which is really nice. So, because, squirrel and I forget, and I look at it and I'm like, well, crap, how many repeats have I done? Yeah.
Yeah, I know. And I'm supposed to do 6 here and then move to this parenthesis and do,
I know. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Now, that's one reason why, and we'll talk about it here later, but I just started using Knit Companion less than 3 weeks ago, and I'm already on the paid version because this puppy, there are 6 places for row counters, and you can assign it how many rows you want it to each one of those.
Love it.
Yeah.
Mine does the same thing. It goes, how many do you want to reset after that? Do you want to keep a global count? And do you want it to count to your master row counter? And I'm like, yes, and all the yes. So,
all of the above.
And that's what I went to the paid version pretty quick too. And mine's pretty cheap. I think mine's only a few dollars a year or something, but it was enough that me as a cheap person that I have to justify all of my spending to myself, that I was like, this is worth my sanity and enjoying the stitching. So
so it's a phone app.
Oh, cool. That I can also pull up on the tablet, because I don't want to hear any hate out of anybody, but I am an Apple person through and through, and I like all the integration and I like all the syncing. Yep. And that's one of the big reasons why I have stuck with Apple, is because it all integrates and syncs beautifully. And this app just syncs across everything gorgeously.
I really appreciate that part of it, but I didn't know it did that. And so when I finally got my iPad, and it's all set up and it's sitting next to me, my phone rang. Well, so did my iPad. It scared the heck out.
That probably startled the crap out of you.
I was like, what? Yeah, so I totally get what you're saying. Okay, we're only on the first one. Let's move along. Tape measure. Now, I have a very special tape measure that I bought at the yarn shop I used to help out in Northwest Indiana, outside of Chicago. And it's a sheepy. It looks like a little sheep. And
I bet it's adorable.
You pull its tail, and that's the tape that comes out,
Love
one of those
it.
ones you push with a button.
Yes.
So it's basically just a cover, but any tape measure literally is a necessity. I mean, I have couldn't find one and used the back of an absolute, like a paper pattern envelope, like Simplicity or Butterick. It's 6 inches. I've used those before.
I've used $1 before because $1 is 6 inches.
Right now.
Any paper bill is 6 inches long. I've done it.
Yeah. Especially if you're out and you don't have it with you. Yeah, I've done that several times.
Yeah, gauge measuring when you're out because you're like, oh, I'm just going to gauge swatch. And then you get to the point where you're like, oh, crap, I was going to measure. And if I can measure this and I make gauge, I can cast on. And I didn't bring the tape measure.
Same story about stitch markers. I've used paper clips. I've used just about, and I've used those bread things when I worked
I've
at
used
the
hair
grocery
ties.
store. Yeah. So
when I made my big cardigan over here that I'll wear when it starts getting cooler again, when I don't know when that's going to be, but yeah, I used hair ties to mark my repeats on that.
Do you have a special tape measure that you use, or just that you keep in your pouch?
So I have a square gauge measure that I had made, like it's a big wood one for gauge.
Oh yeah.
Oh, it's so pretty. I had it actually had it custom done. I need to find the girl. What was her name? I found her on Etsy. I'll find the link and I will share it with everybody for the show notes.
Okay.
I had her custom do it for my girlfriends and I for Christmas. That was the Christmas gift I did for our group one year. And on the top of it, I had her engrave, whether it was, if you got too many stitches, you size up, or too few stitches, you size down, or whatever way it is, because I always forget.
That's why I have it written down.
Forget.
It's on a sticky note for me.
Yeah, I always forget. So I actually had her laser cut it into the wood ruler for me, and I will see if I can find a photo of it and share it with Lisa to put on the show notes, whom, just for a side note for everybody, is doing very well. She has started physical therapy. She appreciates all of the thoughts and prayers and love, and she is still coming along, hoping to join us here and there before too much longer.
Yes, but we also know that you and I could just about handle anything, and she just needs to rest, because
she does
really
need
that's
rest.
It's the only time our bodies heal is when we're sleeping,
and that's the best kind of rest there is, let me tell you.
Yep. If you don't rest, it's just all over, especially if you're it's not just about doing the show, it's about all the stuff that goes in beforehand, especially on her end of it. And she just
and
needs
after
to just
and all
sit
the
still.
things.
Exactly. Yep. So I think my point about having a special tape measure is sometimes if you have a special one, maybe you spent a little bit more money on it or whatever, or it's cute, you have a tendency not to lose it as often.
I think the other thing too is that if it's your special tape measure for your project, anybody in your house, and I'm saying anybody as a reason, will leave it alone.
Yes.
Like my daughter was looking for a pair of scissors the other day, and
scissors.
She was like, she said something was said about scissors, and she was like, I think if I use those scissors, Tiffany would hate me. And my husband piped up and he goes, I'm pretty sure Tiffany would have a fit. He said something very different, but I started laughing from the other room because I could hear them. And I was like, both of you are very accurate on both counts. Keep moving.
That's cute. Yes. Let's talk about something else. Jeez. So the other thing in the picture, let me go to step 3 here. Number 3, it was the tapestry or large eye needles.
Yes.
Everybody calls them something different.
Yes.
Because even if you make a washcloth, you've got a couple of ends that you've
got to sew in. Sewing
Yep.
the ends in is so much easier than using the hook. I used the hook for years because being a
I
crocheter.
never did that.
I did. I used to pull it through like the middle of the middle of the stitch and everything, and it works, but it's not the most efficient way to do it.
Or
so
fastest,
yes, tapestry needles, large eye needles, whatever, yarn needles, whatever you want to call them, definitively much easier.
I started out with the blue plastic one that everybody else does.
Yes. Yes.
And I had that thing for you. I probably still have it somewhere.
95% of the time, she inspired. That's who it was. 95% of the time, that's the only way that I can find a needle is that stupid blue plastic needle. And that's
Right?
why I
I know.
keep it.
Exactly. It's always there if you need it.
Yep.
So the next thing that we could talk about is stitch markers. My friend that I talk to often, almost daily, Sue from Indiana. She's Trisha's friend.
Hi,
Hi,
Sue.
guys. Anyway, she told me about something a couple of nights ago, might have been last night, about what she does with her stitch markers. She buys those round things like you buy at the office supply stores. They're like a binder, or
Oh,
it
yeah,
looks like
yeah,
a
yeah.
key
The
ring.
spring rings. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
The
And
clamp rings or whatever they're called. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
she puts one of those on a zippered pouch for each project, and she puts everything in that pouch that she needs for that project, but she puts her stitch markers on that thing.
That's an amazing idea.
How smart is she? Because she uses those stitch markers, and we're going to talk about that too, that look like little light bulbs. You know, those little bitty
Yes.
ones? Yeah. And she just slides them on there, and
I
you've
love
got
that
stitch markers.
idea.
How smart is she? Thank you, Sue.
Thank
Yeah.
you, Sue. 'Cause
Seriously.
that's really a great idea. Like
Never thought about it before. She said a couple of other things too, but that just blew my mind. So that's kind of where I stopped listening.
Yeah, but yeah, so like I've got different well, I have a tendency to just transfer my notions back and forth, but I love the idea of a small pencil bag for each box
Yeah.
or for
Yeah.
each project bag, and then the ring, because what did I do the other day? I did I think I stuck everything on a hair tie again,
Yeah,
because that's my
exactly.
go-to.
Right. Yeah.
Or maybe it was a bobby pin.
Or a large paper clip. I've done that at work too.
Yep,
many
done
times.
that one too.
Gosh. But the stitch markers are like, for me, they're like Bible almost, okay?
Yes.
Because especially in knitting, and I don't use them as often in crochet when I do lace, because I'm more or less usually creating, doing it freeform,
Mhm.
or designing. But with my lace knitting, and I'm
Mhm.
using a pattern, I religiously put stitch markers where most people don't put stitch markers.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to go back. I don't want to take out a central double decrease. I just don't. It's a
I
horrible
have a hard
situation.
enough time doing it the first time, trying to do it,
Right.
take it out and redo it. That's just going to be a mess for me. So I
Tinking
will
it, yeah.
I will fully agree with that sentiment on stitch markers for everything, because
Yep.
I have, so when I was just doing crochet, I had a ton of the locking stitch markers, just the plastic locking ones.
Yes.
Because I
like
use
little baby
those.
safety pins.
Yeah, because I use those to lock the active stitch, so that I
Right.
can use my hook for other stuff, and that way I don't pull out my work.
Right.
No big deal. Because that's one of the nice things about crochet is you can
It
put
is.
the locking stitch marker in, and away you go.
Yep.
Well,
Use it all the time.
Yep. Did not realize, like, I knew I would use stitch markers here and there, but it wasn't like a huge thing. Like you said, I started knitting, and holy crap, I started using stitch markers for everything.
I'm
And
telling you.
my mom gifted me a set for I think it was St. Nicholas Tog last year, because we lived in Germany when I was a kid. I was a military brat, so we lived in Germany for 3 years when I was a kid. So we still do St. Nicholas Tog, which I think we talked about with Ro back in her episode.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Where it's, basically Christmas for the kids without being the religious Christmas kind of thing. And it separates the two of them. So we still do St. Nicholas Tog. And I'm pretty sure she bought me the big light bulb ones that you're talking about. Mm-hmm. She bought me this huge thing of like 500. Like, she found a really cheap on Amazon kind of thing. Might have only been 200.
That's exactly what Sue bought.
Yeah,
she said.
Got them super, super cheap on Amazon.
Yeah.
And I think that was my St. Nicholas Tog gift last year or year before when I started knitting. And same thing. Like, it was just, it was kind of crazy.
Well, so. I'm gonna say something kind of controversial here, because I am the bling lady. I'm the sparkle. I love jewelry. I have my earrings on. Okay, so I love all the pretty. I love beads. I could stare at beads all day long. Like men that stare at goats, I'm the one that stares at beads. Okay, so I bought, for years, all I would buy was the fancy beaded stitch markers. Well, what I'm finding now is I'm improving a lot in my techniques and learning some more advanced ones and making a lot more than I used to at a time, that they get in my way.
Yeah.
And I make funny faces at them and say bad words at them. So now those have been shelved for those little plastic round clover ones, or the little
light bulb ones.
Yeah, they're called lamp somethings. I can't remember the right name for them, but yeah, because those are my go-to now. I have
Yeah. So I
them everywhere,
actually,
literally.
and this is going to be a plug for one of my girlfriends because I picked up an old project yesterday to go to the doctor's office and took it to the doctor today. It's my habitation throw from
I saw
my
your picture. It's
from my advent
pretty.
from 2 years ago. You see how
Mhm.
little it is. I'm only 4 colorways in. So, anyways, picked it up and I used the stitch marker that came in that kit. And I had to put it on a light bulb because it didn't fit on my needles, which was fine, whatever. Because it's my marker for my I-cord edging.
Oh, right.
So, well, I texted one of my girlfriends and I was like, I love this one because it's so pretty, but I love yours more because the clasps actually work for everything. And she started laughing. So my girlfriend Asia, she's gonna be. I'm trying to convince her to be on the show, y'all. So if you can, if you want to send me,
come where we won't bite.
that's what I told her. I told her we wouldn't bite. But anyways, if y'all want to send happy messages, let me know. Anyways, her name is Asia. She's a yarn fixation. She has a website and Etsy, and she's on Instagram. She makes stitch markers now. Okay.
Oh,
and
fun.
they are like, she does 2 sizes. She does a really big one and she does a smaller one. And they are like little pieces of work. Like they're really pretty, but they're circular and they have open like they're not the claw crabs. They're not the claw crab clasps. They're the lever ones where they open up and you can open them up and pull them off and move them as you need them. So when I run a lifeline, I can go back and I either, if I run the thread through my lifeline, I can open my stitch marker up and put it on the needle, or I can put it on the thread so that it's in the right spot when I go back to run my needle through it. And
it would be good for Japanese short rows and stuff like that.
Dude, I love her stitch markers so much. I told her that this morning. I was like, I love them. And then one of our girlfriends actually started wearing them as earrings. And I was like, yeah, I think I'm going to have to do that because I really love that idea. So you might think about that for your dangle ones.
I've done tie pins before that were trout because I ran the trout festival every year when I worked in a town way up in northern Michigan.
You really have done everything, haven't you?
I really have. And instead of tie pins, I used them as earrings.
I like it.
And I got 2 of them.
I like it.
Everybody's like, where did you get those earrings? I said, you don't want to know. But I'm all about repurposing. That's me.
Hey, you know what? It's fun.
So stitch markers are super important.
Yes, they are my favorite
You
thing.
can go as wild and crazy as you want to, and they're beautiful. I think that they're like jewelry. You know how many pairs of glasses I have? And I call it jewelry for the face.
It really is.
I think there should be jewelry for everything we do, and knitting is one of them, and crocheting, and spinning, and all that
stitch markers really are that, and they really do accentuate the pieces.
They're just too much fun. Okay, so also one of the cute pictures in this picture was elements in this picture was a bunch of yarn that was tied up in a little strand, and I'm like, I don't understand. Well, it's waste yarn because some of the pieces of the stitch holders that look like big kilt pins, or say big safety pins.
Yeah.
Well, some of those aren't long enough to hold.
No, they're really not, especially if you're doing like a top-down raglan for our size.
Exactly. So waste yarn.
Yes.
And I suggest, let me just put a word of caution out there to anybody who's new to this, is I think it needs to be slippery yarn.
Yes.
Because sometimes we have to go in there and like cut out a little bit of it or whatever. It depends on what kind of, like, maybe it's a provisional cast on or whatever, and you're putting in a waste yarn. Get the slippery yarn. Get any kind of polished cotton or even, what's it called? The real slick Caron, Simply Soft.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
That's a slicker yarn. For me, that works.
I typically have a tendency to use my other cables.
I tried that a couple of times, and I wasn't fond of it at all. I don't like the ends.
On my last one I did, I used, because I've got the end caps on them.
Yeah.
And I threw the end caps on them, and that's what I did. And it worked really well for me.
I know a lot of people do use those. Yeah. That's a very good idea.
It works for some people, it doesn't work for everybody, and that's a thing.
Right. Now, the next thing they had was a picture of just a plain crochet hook.
Right.
It looked like a size C or D or something small.
Yeah, something small.
Mm-hmm. But they have those fix-it tools.
Yes, they're so cute.
I love them. I want to figure out a way to make it a necklace. Okay.
There's some that are actually on keychains, and you could take it off that key ring and put it on a chain.
I need that because it's a crochet hook on the for listeners who can't see what I'm doing, it's a crochet hook on one end, and it's just a straight,
Yep.
like the end of a knitting needle on the other end.
Yep.
And they're what, 3 inches long, maybe.
Something
they look
like that, yeah.
mini little crochet hooks that have made a mistake at the bottom.
Yep.
And I've loved mine ever since I got it. And
yeah,
it's
that way
also,
you can just ladder them back up.
Yep, super. And if anybody doesn't know how to ladder their stitches and thinks they have to tink out all those rows, unless you're cabling, there's a way to fix it without losing your mind. And
yeah, I'm still learning that. I'm still haven't quite grasped
Yeah.
all my confidence on that yet, but I'm getting better.
YouTube has a couple of super simple videos to watch. So I'm big on that. Stitch markers, stitch counter. Do you ever use a stitch counter?
I'll actually use the
Besides
light
that.
bulb. I'll use the stitch markers to count my stitches. Like I'll throw them like every 10 or 15 stitches. But stitch counters, not typically, no.
Okay. Or even like row counters before we started doing the apps and the
Yeah, I've actually got one over here. It's one of those like stopwatch kind of counters where you click the button every time and it levels up a number every time. So
I like the ones, I used to like the ones that went on the bottom of your knitting needle, like when we used straights for everything, you know. Of course, now I use circs for everything because of my wrists, and you can't put it anywhere, you know. It just kind of hangs in the middle. But I used to use that all the time. But my son insisted I buy one. We were at Hobby Lobby one day. How funny was this? Because he buys all his art supplies there.
Yeah.
And it's a ring, and you put it on, and you just click it.
Yep, it's got the button on it. Yeah.
Oh, I fell in love with that thing before I got my.
I've seen people who use them, and I have never, I can't seem to get my brain to, I love the concept.
Yeah.
Can't get my brain to wrap it.
You have to remember at the end of each row, before I turn the needle, hit that button.
Yeah.
And that's as simple as it is. Yeah. I just loved it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, and they're only like $3.49 at Hobby Lobby.
Yeah, something like that.
And it hasn't run out of battery juice yet. I've had it almost a year. So
nice.
The other
really quickly before we move on, grabbing this row counter thing, it reminded me for your stitcher or for your scissors. So this is one of those, because I've got it on the same thing. This is one of those circular yarn cutters that
I've always wanted one of those.
Where did I get this? I got this at like Joann's or something, and I just did a chain to put it on a necklace so that I could wear it. This is what I use when I fly, typically. So have you seen the ones that
are on necklaces?
No.
Oh yeah, those are
no, because I've had this for so long. Like I've had this as long as I've been crocheting.
Really?
It's a Clover brand.
Yeah,
it's a Clover brand. So I mean, I think I got it at Joann's.
I've seen that one that you have in your hand.
Yeah, I love it.
Tiffany and I can see, and you listeners can't, but I can see it.
Yeah, I'm not making it up. I promise.
No,
I'm not crazy.
She really isn't. No, we are.
Well,
that doesn't matter.
am crazy, but yeah. Anyways, moving on.
The last one in this simple picture were safety pins, and everybody thinks, "What do you need safety pins for?" Well, safety pins sometimes come in really handy, like if you've made a casing.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And you get the elastic through there.
Yeah.
You know, or a drawstring, or like you made a hoodie and you're putting that string through there before you tie the knots, and then you tie, you
feed it through put one end on the safety pin and run it through that way. Yeah. You're right.
And every once in a while you want to hold stuff together. Now I use those stitch markers you were talking about that look like little safety pins.
Yep.
When I want to just to test to see if something's the right size, or does it look okay together, or is it matching, that kind of thing.
Yep.
But that's of safety pins. I'm like, I hadn't thought about safety pins in a long time. So that was before the basic. That was the basics, basically.
Yeah, basic essentials.
Yeah, I don't know where we're at on this yet, but we got time.
We're good.
Okay. So here's the fun stuff now. This is all the stuff that after the basics, things that people start talking about, and especially when I was a new knitter, I was very young, but I was still like, they were talking about things, and my mom would take me to knit nights.
Aww.
Yeah. And I would go, I don't even know what these people are talking about. Now it's part of my everyday life.
Look, my mom would start talking about stuff before I got into yarn, and I'm like, what are you talking about? And then when I got into crochet, I only understood like half of what she said, and I was still like, what are you talking about? Now I'm fluent in it, and it's great. Yeah.
It's like a foreign language. It should be taught somewhere. But anyway.
It is knit night and crochet night.
Exactly. Or YouTube.
Yeah, that.
One of the things I have listed, first of all, is the gauge tool that also has the sizes for your needles.
Yes. Yes.
The little holes. Each
I
little
did
hole.
not understand that thing until this set of needles that I've been working with, because they're not marked.
Exactly.
And as a crocheter, that blows my mind, because every hook is marked in some fashion. One of the ways of marking, whether it's the millimeters, the letter, the US sizing, whatever it is, it's marked somehow. And
not all knitting needles, though.
And then I got to the set of knitting needles, and I was like, where's the size? My mom's like, there's probably a sizer tool in the back of the needle thing. And I was like, I'm sorry, what? And she's like, yeah, just stick the needle. I was like, Mama. She laughed at me.
Did she, Gloria?
She's going to crack up laughing when she hears that story.
I know she will. But it's important to me because I store my circulars, my fixed circulars, on the neck of my dressing form, my dress form.
Ooh, I like it.
It's got all Paris stuff in it, you know. It's a fancy little guy. Doesn't fit anybody, but it's cute. So
I mean, it's cute and it looks great in the corner. That's all that matters.
And that's exactly where it's at. So, you know, I hook them over there, and I'll just, if I need a certain size needle, I'll just take that little needle sizing tool over with me and start sticking it in a hole. Oh, that's a 5. No, I need a 6. Where's the 6? You know, I'm looking for it. So those are so handy, almost a necessity especially if you buy knit picks.
Yeah, well, and that's
interchangeables.
That's where the set came from. And I actually bought their needle binder not long ago to store them in rather than keeping them in the plastic. So that sizer stays right there in that sleeve with the needle so that I can find it.
I have one in each of my little pouch bags. I have like 3 right now. Yeah. And I know when Randy, my husband, bless his sweetheart, bought me a set of Chiagoo interchangeables for Christmas last year. Very not
it's like he likes you or something.
I'm thinking I'm getting used to it, but so he buys me this, and inside that one, even though theirs are clearly marked not on the needles but on the case, unlike knit picks, they stuck a little very heavy cardboard sizing tool in there. I was so happy. Anyway, so here's another progressive thing for knitters. Cable needles. That some of them look like fish hooks. Yeah. Some of them look like these short knitting needle that's got a little bump in the middle of it. Some of them look like, I have some knit picks, a wooden one that just has little grooves dug in it in the middle of it, and it looks like a really teeny tiny little knitting needle.
I've seen one that looks like a bobby pin. Like it's a bigger, I think it was plastic, but it was like a sprung bobby pin kind of thing. And I was like, all right, because I stood there and looked at it for a minute. And I was like, what is that? And then I looked at the tag and I was like, oh, cable needle. All right.
Because wouldn't you think, what's the purpose here? Right?
Yeah.
You know, some of them I've never figured out. So I always go back to my go-to. But also just on the side, I'm going to mention, and Tiffany, this will maybe blow your mind. I'm not sure.
Oh, let's have it.
You can cable without a cable needle.
I have heard that theory. I haven't gotten brave enough to cable yet, much less cable without it. But
when you do, make sure you conquer the one with the cable needle first.
Yes.
And then move on to the other to appreciate the difference. It just really makes
one of my girlfriends cables without a cable needle, and I just sit there and watch her in awe, because I'm just like, I would drop every stitch there is rather than cabling it.
Yeah, it was a little touch and go for me because I liked my old fashioned way of doing it, you know. But wow, it's speedy now.
That's good.
Moving on, we talk about needle-in protectors.
Love them.
I love them too because I go places with my stuff every time.
They are my favorite things in the world.
However, when they're my most favorite things in the world is when I'm trying something on.
Yes.
And it doesn't slide off the end of it.
See, I have a problem with just losing stitches when I put it in my bag, much less trying it on. But yes, right there with you. And for those who don't know, there are the plain Jane ones that you can order from any big box or online. And there's also several makers who are starting to branch out and make custom needle end stoppers.
Yes. And do you know what I've used before when I couldn't find mine?
Really pretty. What?
Pretty. I love the pretty ones. You know, I'm all about the pretty.
I mean, the pretty is just amazing.
Well, this might tell somebody about something about me, but I was desperate to try this thing on, and I couldn't find my needle in protectors. So every once in a while, I'll throw a wine cork that's actual cork not the
I
plastic
like
ones.
it.
And I stuck that on my needles.
That works great.
It worked just fine.
Yeah, that works great.
However, I like the pretty ones better. Because
I mean, look, the pretty ones are always they're just great.
I think they're resin, aren't they?
It depends on the person. It depends on the maker. Some of them are resin. Some of them are more of a, I think a lot of them are resin, but I don't know. There was one that I got that was actually kind of soft and it was really nice. So yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, there's some really cool ones out there. I like looking at them on Instagram. I
Yeah.
got a set for Christmas last year in one of the Advent boxes I got, which is somewhere in this mess of a craft room. But yeah, there's all sorts of really cool ones out there. And if you can't find them, send one of us a DM and
Yeah.
we'll start
Well,
we'll start, public sourcing for the links for y'all.
right. And also, my favorite one, just so everybody knows, are the ones that look like little witch hats. And
Those are adorable.
The little lime green witch hats are my favorites. So just so you know.
I've got little blue the little plain blue cones on my habitation thread. Yeah.
Yeah. But that's the fun part. Now here comes something that's interesting. A lot of people knit for years before they ever hear the terminology. Did you block that before you?
Yes, I made for years before I used it.
Mm-hmm. So blocking is yet another skill added to our repertoire of skills, because it's if you do things in lace, knit lace, like a knit lace shawl or the insert of your sweater, maybe up your sleeve or up the back or something, you're going to want to open that up.
Mm-hmm.
So it's so pretty. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So blocking mats are like my evil stepchildren. I can't keep them. I don't know where they run away to. And I've tried everything from one suggested to me a couple of times, the pink board that you use as insulation,
mm-hmm.
the foam board.
Yeah.
I've used that. I've used cardboard boxes, but nothing works as good as what I'm about to say.
Oh, let's have it.
You can find these at a dollar store or anybody's garage sale that's ever had children. You know those little blocks? They're 12 by 12, and they look like puzzle pieces on the
floor
sides.
mats.
The floor mats, yes.
Love it!
I've used children's floor mats. Well, my husband, the one who really loves me, said we were at Hobby Lobby and I saw some beautiful black and white fleur-de-lis ones for actual floors, okay? They were supposed to look like a rug when you put it together. And I said to him, oh my God, those would be such pretty floor mats. And he went, well, so buy them. I was like, what?
I love it.
So I now have 2 sets of those, and I'm going to set them up in my son's room because he's on a camping trip, and I'm going to block my beach cover up tomorrow.
There you go. Yes, take advantage of the space while you have it.
So how do you block?
So I'm bad. I haven't actually done anything to block. The cotton top that I did not long ago, because it's cotton, it only blocks so far, and most of what I have made is either cotton or acrylic blend, so it doesn't block. So
Oh, well, the first time you do it, you will be sold on it, especially if you do it.
I've seen mom's stuff block, and I've seen the magic of blocking, and I fully appreciate it. I've just never had a reason to do it myself.
Okay. With blocking mats, you also need T-pins.
Yes.
They're longer and they're easier to grab a hold of, and you just stick it in that rubbery whatever stuff, styrofoam, I don't know what it is. Foam.
Yeah, whatever the mat is, yeah.
And off you go with the T-pins. I have used, when my T-pins went walkabout, I have used regular just straight pins, but they're not as strong at all. And you push that stuff into anything and it just bends.
And they bend immediately.
Which is very, very
I also like the ones that they're kin to the T-pins, where they've got like 4 pins in like one plastic piece, and you can put them in. My mom's got some of those that she's gotten from various places, and I like using those. I like seeing her use those, or like I said, I don't block, but I like using the concept of using those down the longer straight edges.
Well, speaking of blocking, things like that, there are also things, and we're skipping a couple of things, but we'll go back. The blocking wires that are flexible, and there are blocking rods. They're metal and they're straight. So like if you've made a lace, any kind of lace in a blanket, and it's really long, you can stick it on these rods through
Okay.
the end stitches,
Yeah.
and then it's a straight thing. My friend Keenan of Knitting Bartender told me how he blocks his. He swatches 8 inches and
Okay.
12 inches sometimes, not just 4.
Right.
And what he'll do is he'll hang it on the end of a hanger, or like the bottom of a hanger, and then he'll weight the bottom of it so it'll hang.
All right.
Especially if it's a garment. And
All right.
he does that. He does it that way. That what he's ever discussed, when he has ever discussed that, he's only discussed swatches.
I mean,
So
that's a good way. That sounds like a good way to do it, to see how it will wear and how it will lengthen
And
as you wear it.
That's why he does it.
I like it. That's
exactly
really
why he does it.
intelligent.
It's very smart. I
That's
got
really smart. And
lots
then
of
when
things
he's
for me.
done, he can take, because especially if he does 8 or 12 inches, he can make like a big quilt or something. At the end.
Exactly. Yeah, I don't know what his plans are, but yeah. The other thing that I've used, or I used to use, but I don't anymore because I usually end up wearing them, is sock blockers.
Yep.
They look like a metal sock or a wooden one, or they have all them
There's
made out
acrylic,
of all
there's wood. Yep.
Yep.
Plastic.
Yep. And it has a little hanger thing on it. You can usually hang it, on something.
Mm-hmm.
And it's I think it's a wonderful tool to use if you're taking pictures of your finished product.
Yes.
Because it spreads out any kind of lace that's on
yes.
there too. Now let's go back to blocking again. There are some manufacturer-made soaking
washes.
Washes, yes, like Soak, like Euclid, like there's others, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But those are the two I usually
and a couple of
use.
makers are actually starting to make those from scratch as well. And
Well,
sell those.
you know what I use
Oh.
this is funny. So when I'm out or I can't find it, I use hair conditioner.
Okay.
Just a slight amount, because too much of it would coat it too much.
Yeah.
But I also have a lavender organic body gel or body lotion. So they use in the shower.
Right.
And it's called Sleepy. It's made by Lush. And I use that, and everyone I've given anything to made out of that has said, "What did you wash this
I
in?"
love lavender. Lavender's so pretty.
So that's
and the lavender vanilla mixes that are out there are just.
I know, right? Yes.
Okay.
Okay. So now we're taking the trip down that lane. So when we buy our yarn in hanks, a hank is the thing that's twisted.
Yep.
Usually independent dyers or independent any kind of yarn manufacturer that gives us
hand
our
dyes
things.
certain lengths.
Yes, especially, or even spinners who spin their yarn. They will
hank it up.
You hank it up that way. Thank you. I can't speak today.
It's okay. So, you can't either.
Together we can maybe be one person. So what I'm talking about now is there's a way that we can get this into a usable product, and we can make it a center pull ball. And that is the good old ball winder and Swift.
Yep.
A lot of people, it looks like one of those accordion baby gates, I guess.
Yes.
If you've never seen one.
The Amish umbrella Swift.
Yes. But there's a lot of other different brands.
Yeah, there's a ton.
I'm going to tell you a shortcut one if you don't have one. I just had a ball winder one time living at my daughter's house, and I needed the Swift. I looked it up online. Mr. Google told me something super fun. I had one of those lamps on my bedside table that would look like a Chinese hat.
Yes.
Shaped that way. And they said you loosen it and you just lay the skein on that and it spins.
Love it.
Honestly, and it worked.
I love it.
My granddaughter was so fascinated by that. She was like 13 at the time.
And
she's like, "Oh, Nana, can I do this for you?" And I had like 20 skeins to do, a bulky. I said, "Sure, honey."
Sure, honey. Now, I've used the back of my chair, my office chair that will spin. I've used that before instead of a Swift. Yep, I put the hank across the back of my office chair, kind of draped it down where the arms connect to the back of the chair, where it'll hold it, and I've used that as a Swift before.
Interesting. Now, I had never thought of that.
I have seen here recently, one of the Tunisian designers I follow, and I can't think of who it is at this point, bought a new Swift recently. I think since the beginning of the year, she put up one that she bought, and it's called a Squirrel Cage. Now, I've never seen this thing until she posted it, and it is the coolest thing in the world because she bought it from a woodworker. So of course he does limited quantities, they're just they're out of my budget right now, but they are definitely a dream piece for me because what it is it's a column, and his he puts it where there's bobbins on the top and bottom, and they're movable. So depending on how big the hank is, you can move it to fit the hank. And he's got a shelf on top where you can put your ball winder, and it spins from the bottom up to the ball winder. As you spin the ball winder, it all goes up. And I must have watched that video that she posted a reel. I sat there, I must have watched it for 20 minutes. I'm not even kidding you. Like, it was the coolest thing because instead of taking up 6 or 8 feet like your typical umbrella Swift,
right,
this thing is just the column, and it moves from the bottom to the top where the ball winder is. So the foot space is only 3 or 4 feet, however wide this thing is. I was entranced, let me tell you. It's called a Squirrel Cage.
That is so funny.
Squirrel Cage Swift. Coolest thing in the world.
Sue, if you're listening to this, we need that because we have this pact. If one of us starts talking about something we're not supposed to talk about yarn related, like we're not done with this one pattern yet and we want to start something else, we'll yell squirrel.
Yes, yes. Squirrel in our world is definitely a thing as well. But yeah, I told my husband, I was like, I want one of these and I want one of these right now. And he started laughing. He's like, so buy it. I said, but you just bought me a Swift for my birthday. So, Also, it was back in May. So yeah.
Oh, yeah. Well, things change.
Yeah.
But you know what it sounds like? I know you're not a spinner, but as a spinner, I hand spin. I don't have an electric spinner. I have the old-fashioned spinning wheel, And when I bought my second one, it contained what was called a lazy Kate. And I thought, what the heck's a lazy Kate? Well, it's what holds the bobbins.
Okay.
So I'm thinking he maybe saw that and thought it was a good idea. And
I don't know. She said she was talking to somebody in one of her tests about it, and they, about trying to find a Swift, and they were like, here, try and get this Squirrel Cage thing. And she was so like, cool. Okay. And yeah, it was the coolest thing in the world. So
you'll have to send me that video.
I'll find the video, and I will share the link with you guys for the guy's workshop. It was the coolest thing in the world.
So cool. Oh,
so cool.
Gosh. Well, that would be great because I don't have any room for anything in this place right now.
Yeah, it's a thing.
So maybe when my son him and his girlfriend finally find a place to live, that would be cool. New job starts in a couple of weeks. Okay. So anyway, I have this thing I'm getting ready to talk to you about. I want to show it to
Lori Designs. That's who it is.
Aw.
She's the one who posted the reel. And she's an amazing Tunisian designer. Just for y'all's information.
I've done Tunisian. I've played with it here and there, but I'm just not sold on it yet. So
I know you're not.
Here's the next thing
I'm not. You converted.
Yeah, I hear you. So here's the thing that I have that is, I bought this at the yarn shop in Northwest Indiana. Jamie owns it. I love Jamie. Jamie is as crazy as I am, or crazier. And I used to help her with the shop and help her run her knit nights and things like that. And the name of her shop is called Spinnin' Yarns.
Okay.
Anyway, I bought this at her place just on a whim.
Mm-hmm.
It's shaped like a sock. It's a keychain. It's shaped like a sock. And on one side of it, it's got the anatomy of a sock. The gusset, the toe, the heel, all that. But on the other side, guess what it has?
The Kitchener cheat.
Yes, ma'am.
That seems, so I don't Kitchener. I haven't done anything that requires it. I haven't made it that far yet, but the Kitchener seems to elude a lot of people.
Yes. And here's the greatest thing is there's a hole in it. Of course, I've lost it right off the bat. There's a hole in it.
Uh-huh.
You put the needle that you use for the Kitchener stitch in it.
Oh, I like it.
Yeah. So I bring this thing out, even though I've made in my lifetime, in the past 10 years, I have probably made at least 50 pairs of socks. You would think I would have this puppy I do a lot of toe up.
I don't know anybody who's got Kitchener memorized. Like,
I never
let's
have.
be real. I don't know anybody who has Kitchener memorized.
Well, I feel better now. But anyway,
I
so
really
yeah, I
don't.
use this like religiously. It stays in my pouch. It's just, I freaked. I couldn't find it a while ago.
Uh-huh.
And I wasn't even making socks. I happened to think about it and I was showing it to somebody. I wanted to show it to somebody and I couldn't find it. I freaked out, but I found it. So
yeah, I probably would have too.
Love it. Another couple of things that we could talk about real quickly, and tons of ads we could do for different people, especially
Different
on
things
Etsy,
and all the things.
is zippered pouches, project bags, tins or containers for your
I'm
stitch
pretty
markers.
sure we both have people that we could just talk for hours on bags and project bags and all the things. Like
That would be so
so
cool.
many great independent people who are
Amazing. A million
they're
of them.
just
Yes.
gorgeous.
I used to buy a lot of my stuff from a girl that lived out in Wyoming. She doesn't do it now, but she also made dresses for the reenactors, like Civil War reenactors and stuff.
Yeah.
Her pouches, her zippers were perfect. I've never had a problem with that thing. And I've had it for 10 years probably. So yeah, super, super cool. But those are all things: zippered pouches, project bags, tins, containers, all that kind of stuff for your stitch markers. Very, very important. I didn't get organized until about maybe 4 years ago. Everything I just threw it into certain containers and couldn't find them and lost stitch markers I paid good money for. Yeah, so it's good to get organized. Zippers, buttons, and hooks. These would be things that you would add to garments or wearable items that you made. There's a lot of talk about zippers, especially if you're making a hoodie and you want it to close in the front. You want the ring on it. Do you want it plastic or metal? There's just a lot of things to consider on that. Also, snaps. My mom always put a snap in the back of every dress that she made that just closed the top part of it just neatly, or one of those hook and eye things.
Right.
So I've seen some designers. I know Lily Chin uses them sometimes, and maybe Jill Walcott. But other than that, I think it's a really slick designer touch to things. This is fun. A Pom-Pom Maker.
Yes.
You can buy those.
Yes.
Yeah.
I may or may
So
not
much
have bought
easier.
some because I make a mess anytime I try to use anything other than one of those when I try to make a pom-pom. It's a nightmare.
I'm telling you what, I can't find mine. I don't know where it went. It's gone. I'm sure it's in La La Land somewhere. So
yeah, that's where
I decided to make my own. I wrapped it on something, wrap, clip, tie, My son came in right when I got it done. He goes, "What on earth are you doing?" I said, I'm shaking it. I'm like, "It's a pom-pom." He goes, "Yeah, for a cheerleader. What are you making, Mom?" Because it was supposed to go on the top of it.
Go on a hat. That's
I'm like,
hysterical.
Go away. So that hat does not have a pom.
It's funny how they catch us in the middle of things and they look at us like we're absolutely insane.
I'm like, go away. Anyway, another couple of things that are super, super helpful for the crafter period, whether you embroider, you're some kind of yarn artist, anything like that, is a magnifier. I have a couple of them. I have one that sits on a stand, mostly because of my eye problems. Sits on a stand, it arches over, it magnifies and lights up. I have the thing that wraps around your neck that has two little headlights.
Yep, I have one of those
that you can
when
use
it starts
in
getting
dark.
Yeah.
Yep. The graph holder that you were discussing earlier that you mentioned, that's magnetic.
The pattern holder.
I got one that's pretty fabric on the outside. I'm all about the pretty. And then when you open it up, it snaps, and that's the base.
Yes.
And you can snap it two different, like it lays down a little bit more or it sits up higher. Yeah. I love that one. That's a knitter's pride thing. So, yarn bowls or other containers for holding yarn. That was a big deal when I worked at Joann's. People are always coming in and going, "Do you have one of those things that has the hole on top of it that I can pull my yarn out of?"
Yeah.
And I would go, I'm a knitter. I don't even know what you're talking about. But but they do make those things.
So I've actually, so I have a pottery friend. She makes yarn bowls. Lots of people make yarn bowls and have them available to them. I actually, my friend made me a cereal bowl out of the teal that I loved, and she glazed the inside of it, and that's my yarn bowl.
Oh.
My mom has an actual yarn bowl by the same maker, and I'm a center pull girl, but I will put my yarn in there because number one, it keeps it from getting tangled or caught on anything. Number
Or
two,
off the
keeps
floor.
the dogs out of it, and number three,
Yes.
I can toss my stitch markers in there as I get done using them.
Okay, you just said stitch markers. Look what I've got. Tiffany can see it. Do you see this is my yarn bowl?
It's a cute. Okay, y'all, it's a teacup. It is a big teacup on a saucer, and it's got a handle, and it's all pretty floral colors, and she's got the saucer holding tools. Like that's great.
And there's a tea bag.
It's got the whole. Oh yeah, it's the tea bag on the side. That is so cute.
But see here, then on the bottom, the saucer has all my stitch markers, my needles, my scissors, all that stuff. So let me tell you what, I got it for $9. $9.
That's amazing. That's an amazing deal on that.
At Hobby Lobby, half off.
Yep. Love it.
I was so excited because I'm not I am kind of a big tea drinker, but I'm more of a coffee drinker. And it's just perfect for what I needed it for. And it sits here and it takes care of me. So
it's so pretty. I love it.
Isn't it pretty? It's the bright colors like me.
I love it.
Anyway, do you have anything else you want to add or anything? Any other people doing things?
Kind of looping back to the Swift and ball winder.
Mm-hmm.
Because I did not get those until my birthday this year. My husband blessed me with those for my birthday.
Aww.
I used mom's up until that point because for a long time we lived together and I didn't need one. And then when we moved out, I was like, I kind of need something. So actually, I bought myself a no-steppin', which is just a little wood rod that's like, I don't know, 8 or 12 inches long, depending on how you find it. And you can hand wind your own balls of yarn. Wind them off a skein, wind them off a hank sitting in your lap, off the back of a chair, whatever you want to do. But you don't necessarily need a ball winder. And no step-ins are typically much lower investment cost. For those who cannot afford a ball winder, cannot afford a Swift. No step-ins. I got mine. So I know we're going to talk about this at a much later date once it gets closer to time. But my girlfriends and I decided to make a girlfriend's weekend, and we went to Rhinebeck last year because we needed an excuse to meet each other, to get out, to do the thing. And we all had like really great deals to get there. So like, we all did the one lives close, one lives relatively close. I flew free on points because I, fly too much to begin with.
Right.
So anyways, we went and did it, and I bought my no step in at a woodworkers last year at Rhinebeck. That was my Rhinebeck memento to myself.
Aww.
Was my no step in, because they, everybody, we're all sitting there making our plans so that we can hold each other accountable of, okay, what are we not spending $1,000 on?
Right.
We want to buy all the yarn, but we can't buy all the yarn, so let's make our plan. And that was the only thing that I really wanted was a no step in when I was there. And it's small and it's real pretty cherry. Very simple design.
I love cherry.
I do too. But it fits in my Notions bag perfectly. So if I get some, if I'm out and about and I realize I have to frog 10 rows off of this sweater, guess what? My no step-in's there. I can wind it off and make a very neat little ball rather than having a big pile of crap. And let me tell you what, that thing has paid for itself more than twice.
Oh, yeah?
Since I bought it in October. And
that's funny.
So, yeah.
Well, let me tell you, funny story. First of all, when you live in Chicago, they call them no-stepines.
Okay. I think that's one of those things that everybody's going to call differently just because of the way the word is.
Because the way it's spelled. Yeah. And I think it's Dutch or something.
I think it is too.
Yeah.
I should call Ro and ask her how it's pronounced.
I was just going to say, ask Ro.
Yeah. I think I'm going to have to call Ro and ask her how it's pronounced properly.
But another friend of mine said one time she was so desperate to use one, she used her toothbrush holder.
I've used a water bottle.
Okay, so there.
Did not work as pretty. It did not work
wasn't
nicely
as
at all.
She did say
actually, it was a Coke bottle. It was Coke bottle because it was thicker, and I was on a cruise ship for that one. But I still ended up making a mess out of it, and it was definitely not.
Here's what I do, because I don't have either, and I don't have the root, and I don't.
My watch decided to chime in on the conversation. So
I heard that. Tell it be quiet. Well, I'm surprised mine hasn't woke up over there, sitting over there with the disc. But anyway, because if I say it, it'll talk to me.
Yeah, don't.
Years ago, when I decided I didn't have the room for it, I watched a bunch of videos about how to wind your own center pull yarn,
Mm-hmm.
and you can do that.
I've done it for years.
Mm-hmm.
And the only time I really ever went to Mom's to use her ball winder was when I had more than one hank.
Right.
Because I was like, I'm not doing more than one hank at a time.
Exactly. I do them as they come when I needed them. You know, like I had a dress that I made with 12 hanks.
Yeah.
And I do one and then I'd start knitting and then I need another. It's a good break, you know.
Yep.
But there's also, just for everybody's amusement and knowledge, there is a group, or there used to be. I haven't really done a lot with Revelry in the past 5 or 7 years, but there is a group called, I can't remember the name of it, but it's people who hand wind all their own yarn.
Oh, wow.
And and then there's another group of people that untangle yarn for people. Yeah.
I've heard of those people, and those people are just magicians to me.
I love doing that, like untangling necklaces, and I love that kind of stuff.
I do to a point, and then there's a point where I'm like, all right, I'm going to set this on fire. It's time to move on.
Done. It needs to go away. But the ones that hand wind, for me, it's a zen. It's a form of zen. It's very relaxing.
And that's how I feel with my no step, and like it makes it that much easier for me.
Yeah. I can't wait to get one. I really want one, but like I said, I've had too many other things going on. So, did you have anything else that you wanted to?
I think that's about it. I think we've hit most of the other high points. A highlighter. I think a highlighter is about the only other thing that I haven't seen that we didn't talk about. But I mean, it goes in with a pen that because I will go through, especially
I got mine sitting right here.
Garments and mark my size, and my size is color and all that kind of thing, so that I make sure that I get the right thing. So, all right. So the only other thing besides, the zen of wrapping your own yarn and detangling it, because I mean, it does take a certain amount of zen to detangle it, but I do love hand winding my own stuff sometimes. It's just nice. Mm-hmm. We were talking about the row counters earlier, and I found a row counter on Etsy, of course, because that's where I spent like half of my money.
I do. You should see my cart.
Look, my cart is always perpetually full of stuff.
It's always full.
It's always full of stuff.
That my Amazon cart. Forget it.
Yes. Save for later, move to cart. Save for later, move to cart. I go emotional shopping and then I've hit save for later. That way I don't actually spend the money. Yeah, that's me all day long. Both sides.
Yep. It's therapy. It's therapy.
It really is. So, Prairie Fire Studios has got these ringed, and there's a whole bunch of different row counters, but this is the row counter that I actually like for my habitation throw or socks or something. Mm-hmm. Is she's got these rings, and it's a ring and then a number and then a ring and a number, and she's got them all the way up to 10, and then she's got like little pretty dangle whatever's on the bottom, and of course I don't have one sitting here on my desk like I typically do, but all of mine are dragonflies. And
I think it was beautiful. I thought it was a stitch marker.
No, it's actually a row counter. So, cool. I used it on the habitation. I'm using it as a stitch marker for my edging, so that I know when I get there, I change the row count, and then I move on to my edging, and then I flip it around and do my edging switch the row count. But it goes up to 10. And for the habitation, because I was like trying to use my digital app and I was forgetting, and I was trying to write it down, and I was getting pissed off that I was stopping, and I found this on Etsy, and you just move the ring down every time you change the row, and it has actually been an absolute lifesaver with this project. And I bought every size she has, and I've got the smallest one in my sock bag, so that when I get brave enough to go back to my socks, I can use them on my socks for my heels, because I haven't gotten brave enough to go back to that yet.
Oh, girl, I'll teach you a heel. You'll just never do anything else after.
Please and thank you, because I'm still just like I'm like that far into the heel, and I'm just like, I don't know about this shit.
Kiss heel.
Huh?
It's called a kiss heel.
I love Kiss. Kiss is my favorite stuff. So, but Prairie Fiber Studios, I'll throw a link up for that for the show notes, because it's not quite paper, but it's not quite technology. Yeah. It keeps you in the rhythm of stitching, which I have loved for this project.
And you've seen the jewelry that were stitch counters before.
I've seen it, but again, I thought about it, and I was like, I can't even manage to hit the button on a row counter to do that, like
Right,
the digital
right.
one you were talking about earlier.
Mhm.
So I found this one and I've absolutely fallen in love with it. And
I would like
so
to try one of those.
she's
That's a
got
good
3
idea.
different sizes for,
Good.
different size needles and stuff. And
Mhm.
they have absolutely been fantastic. I love them to death.
Cool. Well, make sure
So
you put that link in there too.
I will for sure.
Now, what
And
magic thing was
then
I supposed to talk about?
the other one that I was thinking of was wraps per inch tools.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
So,
Go ahead.
because we were talking in the last time we did tool talk about the fibers and your yarn and being careful because sometimes it says it's a worsted and it's really a
Right.
really light DK, or it's a
Correct.
worsted but really it's a a light bulky or heavy
Right.
DK or a light bulky. A wraps per inch tool you can use where there's cheat sheets out there that says if you wrap this many times, very not pulling it tight, not super loose,
Right.
but if you pull at a consistent tension in an inch, it will tell you how many wraps makes it that kind of yarn or whatever.
Right.
And so that's one of those tools that I think would be, or you can just use a regular, tape measure, or, well, not a tape measure, but like a ruler or a firmer ruler or something like that.
Yeah.
So,
Well, my thing that I learned, I think Jamie taught it to me back in Indiana, was for any knitting needle that you're using, you wrap whatever yarn you want per inch. And then that gives you like the gauge that you can go by. But also, what I do is I wrap it 10 times. I wrap 10, not 10 times, 10, 5 times.
Okay.
I've got then 50, right?
Mhm.
I've got 50 inches.
Uh-huh.
And then I just pull that much if I'm going to do a
long tail cast on.
Thank you, long tail cast on.
Nice.
Yeah. And then I'm at least close.
Yeah.
You know?
See, what I cheat with long tails is, and I learned this one online on somebody's IG reel somewhere, was pulling from the inside and the outside at the same time,
Oh,
and then
I
you
can't do
clip
that.
the side that you don't want. I do that one. Works
Yeah,
great.
I
for me.
can't do that. I've tried it a couple of times. It makes me nervous. I don't like cutting when I'm doing that.
I'm not big on cutting, but I'm like, you know what? For that, I'll do it, and it's worked great for me.
Yep.
So,
well, and last thing but not least, 2 things. The Yarn Companion app that I'm talking about was specifically designed for Apple, so it's an iOS thing. I know that my friend uses it. Sue uses it on her tablet that is not an iPad.
yeah, so it's an Android.
It's an Android of some kind. I can't remember the name of it right now.
Well, that's good.
But,
so it's cross compatible, so that's a good thing.
It is, but she can't get it across all of her apps. She can
Okay.
only get it on that tablet. It doesn't
She can
sync
only
like
use that
ours.
tablet for it. Okay.
Yes. So that's good too. But the reason why I want to mention it again is Stitch Fiddle is the other one. And I know another, Trish, the girl that we talked to, she designs also in Knit Companion.
Okay.
So she's used to Stitch Fiddle a lot too. But I know that she also can design in Knit Companion. So there's that element of it also.
Yeah.
So
I use, for those who don't know, Stitch Fiddle is a charting software that you can use to make charts for knitting or crochet. It is it's much deeper in the knitting plethora than it is the crochet. It's not very much, it doesn't have a very deep crochet library. Right. And there's another one, I can't think of what.
I know, there's another one. Well, Knit Companion, you can also put your crochet patterns in Knit Companion. As long as it's a PDF, like you can pull it, like I airdrop mine from, like if it's not in my Ravelry yet, it's just in my patterns, I can airdrop it into my tablet and just boom, it's there.
Oh, there you go.
Project. So, but you can do it for crochet also. Okay. It just doesn't have all the same functions as but like the row counter you can use.
Yeah, so my row counter is the same thing. My row counter is the one where I can, I go through and I can import in the PDFs, and I can work directly from the PDF into the app, and it'll count my my rows for me as long as I hit the button, and then it also turns around and
I've been so happy since I got mine. It's just so
and it will also turn around and time me. It keeps track of my time as well, how long I've spent on that project, which is nice as well. So,
well, Tiffany, did you have anything else to add to this segment? Because we've gone over a little bit.
I think this segment, we've gone over a few minutes. Sorry for keeping y'all, but you know how we get. We love to talk.
But I just wanted to mention one more thing when we're sure we're all done.
Yep. No, I think that's it. I think that's all my stuff. So.
Okay, well, I guess while I was thinking, I was making this list, and it was kind of a progressive list, from basic to intermediate.
Yeah,
To,
it really is, and
let's
it's a pretty
really
good list too. So.
right.
Well
So,
done, ma'am. Well done.
thank you. But I also thought of this, thinking of you and Lisa, of
Oh
course.
boy, here we go.
Is that at that point, once you've bought your yarn bowl and you've started using Knitting Companion and all those fun things, pretty soon you're going to think of all these new designs that you can design, and you're going to need a tech editor.
I mean, look, it's not wrong. Like, you
It
really
is
do
not.
start, like, especially once you start getting into stuff and you can go, hey, I can do that. And, ooh, what if I cable this? And, ooh, a
Right?
pom-pom would be really great there. Or,
Or I like that shoulder on that better, but I like this color over here.
Mhm. Yep, I really love the lace in that. I wonder if I could put that on a top. Yeah.
Yeah.
You're not wrong. Yeah. Once you start venturing into the designing, we are definitely here to help you.
Yep.
So we can figure out what you need, what you don't need, and how to make it look pretty and look, work the way that it should.
Exactly. And you're going to want to listen to another episode we're going to put together here pretty soon that talks about what makers think should be in a pattern. I mean, Lisa and I already did one about what is her tech editor side of it, what needs to be in a pattern. And I understand that completely. But Tiffany and I are going to chat about what from a maker's standpoint. What do you think
the expectation from the maker,
and maybe a wish list too.
Look, it's a thing.
Okay. Well,
all
Tiffany,
right, Miss Denise.
Well,
we have taken their time, and I'm going to release you as well because
Okay, sweetie.
I think it's time for us to go find some food. So
exactly. Well, we will chat at you later then, hon. Bye.
Yes, ma'am.
Mm-hmm.
Bye.
Come back next time when Denise and Tiffany talk with Sarah LaRoe of No Hooks Given. Don't forget to like and subscribe wherever you listen, and join the conversation in our Ravelry or Facebook groups. For show notes or knit tech editing and related services, please visit my website at arcticedits.com. To inquire about crochet tech editing and other services Tiffany provides, please go to wootcrafts.com.